Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode number 27. Like in the case of the last episode, 5 episodes. Same reason. Basically, the commander for these episodes is the new one, Archbishop Wing, is only here for 5 episodes, though he did make a sneak preview for him at the end of episode 35. Yeah, I'm not really sure why they did this, where 2 commanders in a row, and they're only here for 5 episodes before they're gone. Now, his whole thing with the Wing Corps is that they're flying-based mutants. That's simply the reason for it. And he came from... Now, in the case of Baron Tusk, he came from Africa. In the case of Archbishop Wing, his is more of the wing type. It's not more linked to the supernatural voodoo stuff that Baron Tusk was doing. Archbishop Wing. Now, my opinion of him is that he is a very not interesting villain. He is not interesting at all. He has got okay look to him. He just seems boring. He has some interesting ideas for plots, like, kidnap people, turn to mutants. That's nothing new. And speaking of nothing new, for some strange reason, for episode 39, I look up online. Apparently, the last 2 I'm going to discuss, 39 and 40, they are remakes. They are basically adapted from episodes from the original Kamen Rider series. Where I'm watching, you're like, wait, this reminds me a lot of episode from Kamen Rider, and turns out, yes, it is. Now, the first monster there are 5 monsters issues for the Wing Corps for this particular thing. Yes. Yeah, Archbishop Wing himself has only got 5 monsters. But his final one just happens to be, himself. I'm like, that is nothing unusual, because they reused that plot thread from the previous series. Now, here's the thing when it comes, he has 4 monsters this time before unlike, let's say, the Tusk Show, which had 3 monsters plus, some ancient sources like their commander, the Wing Unit actually had 4 monsters before they basically decided to just, end the whole thing. Now, the first one was King Condor. Yes. His whole thing was trying to kill people. Yeah, nothing really new here. And there's also the debut of Sengoku's cousin. Now, this episode 36 is noteworthy for one thing. It's the final appearance of Ken Sekigahara, the Destron Hunter, first appeared back in episode 29. Yeah, this episode was his final appearance. To my knowledge, there is no real reason for this at all. He's seen at the beginning of the episode, the first 5-10 minutes, and then he just disappears. He's basically left the command center. When they come back in the next episode, he is gone, and there's no mention of him at all. Excuse me. To my knowledge, he is the only character this happens to. He was the last of the new ally characters introduced in this thing. First, of course, you had the main Kamen Rider V3. Of course, you had the boss in the previous series. Plus, you had Junko introduced in episode 1. And, of course, episode 4 introduced her little brother. And they introduced Ken Sekigahara in episode 29. It's almost like he was there to take a place of the FA agent who was there for the previous series. But he at least was an interesting character. And he actually stayed for more than just 7 episodes. He was there from episode 10, and he stayed from that point forward up until the final episode of Kamen Rider. Here, he's here for about 7 episodes and he's done. Actually, more 8 episodes and he's gone. Yes, in the case of the other one, at least there's a good reason, because they got rid of Shocker. There was no reason he came around. This guy, no reason why they dropped him from the series. As a matter of fact, his presence is barely even mentioned in the show. And also, he's written to be kind of a weak character, where he basically is not that good of a fighter. Where he can't fight against the Kamen. At least his predecessor in the series, at least he's a pretty good fighter. He's able to hold his own against the forces of Shocker. While like this guy, he can barely hold his own. Like, apparently, it seems as though, like, you could say in a way that his purpose was basically wrapped up with episode 30, because basically his whole team got wiped out by Dr. G. And then for the next 6 episodes, he's doing practically nothing. It's almost like, what was the point of keeping this guy around if you're not going to do anything with him? And then you just drop from the series, no explanation. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, in the case of episode 37, this mostly in the way is trying to do this basically all about activating some kind of like, well, we have it where a monster is sighted in the mountains. And of course, you have V3 basically out there to investigate. And by the way, just by sheer coincidence, we have these power line workers just happen to somehow a power line that's connected to the Destron outpost. Just by sheer coincidence. And more by sheer coincidence, we have a truck driver, yes, a truck driver, who went out to get some water. And he turns around and, oh, there's the entrance to the Destron outpost base. I'm like, what in the world was going on with the writing? Like, everything, it's like the stuff was happening in this episode by sheer coincidence. He is taking cats, but don't worry, he's free with the very end of the episode. And by the way, the monster this episode is basically a... who was the monster for episode 37? Let's see. 37, it is... Yeah, 37 is basically the flying squirrel. Yeah, even though I had squirrels last episode. Yeah, the final one basically, who actually is brought back for the finale, is a plant monster. Yes, seriously, a freaking plant monster. Now, this is a bit out of character for an Archbishop Wing to use. Like, he has some flying creatures and he has a plant. Yeah. And by the way, what's the plot of episode 38? It almost seems like 38, 37, 38 seems like it's... Well, almost seems like it's basically like... Let's see here. Yeah, I think they must have basically got the plot thread mixed up here. Yeah. But 39, oh boy, 39. This episode basically is a retread episode from the original Kamen Rider series. Which one, you might ask? The Man-Eating Suritan. Yes, seriously. They basically remade episode 4, which actually first aired a little over 2 years prior to this episode. Why in the world they said a remake for this episode? I have no freaking idea. Yeah, this something basically is baffling to me. Like, here's basically the premise. We have this older sister and this little boy who's basically her little brother. So they just walk through some greenhouse area and they come across a carnivorous monster who takes basically her and sort of swallows her, and then he says, "Oh, my sister was eaten by a flower." Sounds like, yeah. Basically, it's like they just cut and paste basically episode 4. Except they swapped out the Kamen Riders, they swapped out the organization. They basically just retreaded this whole episode, just with probably better effects. That's just my opinion, anyways. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the whole thing with, I think it was like Poison Moth, I think it was. Actually, it was a different monster. I was thinking a different one. So, yeah, and by the way, the plot of this, he just had to rescue the girl before she gets into surgery. And it's basically a very odd episode. The very next episode, I mean, at first, I thought this felt very similar to episode 2 of the original Kamen Rider, with the whole thing taking over an apartment complex infected with a virus. But apparently, no, this actually is a remake of a completely different episode. Yeah, 30 episode 40, which is the final appearance of Archbishop Wing. It's actually a remake of episode 31 of the original Kamen Rider series involving an anteater. Yes. Yeah, and it's basically a bat-like monster, which basically they call like dead bat, I believe it is. Dead man bat. Yeah, very interesting one. And like in the case of the first one, where he's basically had to train himself. Yeah, both of episode 36 and 40, he has to train himself in order to battle the monster. In the case of the first one, train himself to fly. This one pays to be attack. Oh yeah, and just by sheer coincidence, like after he kind of beats him, before he just transforms back into Archbishop Wing, and then he just dies. Though we do have debut of a brand new villain who takes over for the remainder of the series. Oh, in case you're curious though, what is the guy's name? General Orochi. Yep. And he is here for the remainder of the series. Yeah, he's here for the last 12 episodes. Yeah. As for the reason for this, don't know. It's like for some reason I'm not really sure why this is. It's like they brought this guy in just to, how should I put this? Just to basically close the thing. At least he actually is around more than 5 episodes this time, which thank God for that. Yep. My only guess is the reason why they did they did 2 commanders in 5 episodes apiece, because Shocker says Gale Shocker had 4 commanders the entire series. And I guess they figured though, why not do the same thing? Just rush the second and third one really quickly, and get to the fourth and final one. Yes, none of the episodes particularly bad per se. It's just that I was experiencing deja vu with episode 39. Yeah, it was very obvious deja vu. Not, and of course a little bit with episode 40, but not as much as 39, where it's basically like almost the same episode. Oh, and after they beat the monster, the guy who briefly takes over this little boy's older brother, he's freed, and then he's dropped up back in his bed. Of course, the boy is lying, and then of course, basically, he's able to prove, yep, he's not lying. Yep. By the way, he's in the hospital because he was accidentally injured during the fight between Dead Bat and Kamen Rider V3. But it is definitely a good, happy ending of an episode. And in the case of, I think it was episode 38, I think it was, where they basically had where the brothers, they had where Juko basically rode back with Shiro in the episode, which is interesting because that was the only time I've seen it so far that she ended back with him. Now, she is obviously in love with him. He does know it, but he doesn't want to basically move in on her. Not because basically she's a little bit younger than he is. That's not the issue, because he's a cyborg. And in fact, he's just so dead set on killing Destron, this organization. He just basically got obsession with it. But in case you're curious though, will the next episode of this review series be reviewing 5 episodes again? Probably not, because basically the next commander is only around for 12 episodes this time, not freaking 5 like this one was. Yep, so yeah, that's a particular review. I'll probably get a chance to do another review later after my stream tonight, okay? Next video. Bye.